Hello everyone, I thought I'd do a quick screencast to introduce you to my flipped lesson. I chose as a topic for my flipped lesson spinal injury management, which is a very rich, sort of juicy topic in paramedics, which has received some recent attention, as you'll find through going through this online module, because of some recent research that suggested that some of the modalities or treatment methods that we use in spinal injury management might not always be justified. So I thought it'd be really interesting to create my flipped lesson on a topic that requires some revamping given some more recent attention in terms of the literature and the science behind it. So I wanted to quickly walk you through this PowerPoint that I did. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly because I have attached the actual PowerPoint file for you to go through at your own pace to go through some of the quizzes and videos that I've put in, but I just wanted to create this video as sort of an introduction so that you got a feel for what I was looking for you to do. A quick disclaimer is that I know that we have a bunch of different backgrounds in the class, so the person or people that are going through this might not be super enthused by the medical terminology, so try to take it with a grain of salt. The articles I've put up might be a little outside of the scope of your comfort. Just read the abstracts, keep it simple. I put some fun quizzes. All the information in the quizzes is contained within this presentation. Okay, so I made this module and I've intended to do so as an introduction for students before they go into the lab, before they first reach spinals as a topic in the first year of their paramedic program. So this is the intention and the context that I've made this for. So my hope is to get people critically appraising the literature prior to devising how they go about managing spinal injuries in the field. And I hope we're comfortable with the term spinal injuries. What I mean by that is injuries involving the back, head, neck, and back, where there could be involvement or damage of the spinal cord. So what I did for fun is you'll see in the video when you open it yourself, what I mean by video, I mean this PowerPoint presentation. When you open it by yourself, you'll be able to have access to the link on the page, and this link will take you to a little fun video of a recent sporting event talking about spinal injury management. After you watch that video, please go to this poll. Use the link again in the PowerPoint presentation to go to the poll, and even if you have no idea, just write a fun creative thing with regards to the video. It should be fun, just to kind of just to get an idea of what you think should have been done in this particular injury. There's nothing gory in the video. It should be quite fun. Also, the intention is to do this little poll as a pre-assessment so that I can get a feel for where students are at if we're doing this in a large class, and students can also reflect back on this. Okay, in addition, I have a little bit of information here about spinal injuries and spinal immobilization, and then I've put a video that's an example video of some paramedics that are in the field actually dealing with a spinal injury. It's not perfect, but it's hoping to give students a little bit of context to what they'll be working in. I have put a couple of readings up on the page. It's actually an Edmodo page. I will introduce you to this after I go through this presentation. And on the Edmodo page, you'll see two links to two interesting articles that are sort of seminal, for lack of a better term, in the pre-hospital field as far as managing spinal injuries. I just would tell students, and I would encourage you, that in this case we're not looking too much at methodology, nor are we really looking at the statistics behind a particular project. So I would encourage students to focus on the abstracts, the results, and the discussion. And when it comes to a research methods class, focusing maybe a little bit more on the methods and some of the statistical processes in epidemiology where you come to getting results such as these. This is some relevant anatomy for interest. This is sort of like a generic portion of the spinal column and some important anatomical structures that you'll find in the quiz at the end, but feel free to go back to these pictures. I don't expect anybody to memorize them. Just a general familiarity with the anatomy of the spinal column. This next slide, these are called sensory motor dermatomes, which is a really fancy term. Basically what this means is these areas of the spinal cord correspond with these sensory or motor function areas. So for example, if you had deficits or symptoms in your pinky, as people often do when they have cervical neck problems, cervical cord problems, or problems with their neck, is that they have involvement of the C8 vertebrae. Okay, the big point of my presentation and the big thing that I want to focus it around is this newish development of the Canadian C-spine rule. So this is a rule or an algorithm for going through whether or not paramedics should be putting patients on spine boards. So that means going through a large, complicated immobilization procedure in order to try to avoid further injury. And as you'll see that I mentioned earlier, sometimes doing this complicated process can result in ulcers in the patients, which can actually be quite devastating for elderly patients, and it also increases the risk of paramedic injuries by going through immobilizing someone aboard and having to lift them out of a vehicle. So the development of these rules is intended on having less people per se being put on spine boards, or more specifically a more validated and specific assessment criteria for putting people on spine boards. So this is the big bulk of the presentation, or what I would focus most significantly on when going through the material. I've next put a picture of a traditional spine boarding, which we could also describe as immobilization in an effort to reduce further injury. And then finally, once you get through all these materials, after about an hour, or hopefully a little under an hour, I've put up a 5-question quiz on Survey Gizmo, which you can access again through the PowerPoint presentation. And you can go onto Survey Gizmo and answer 5 multiple choice questions. I don't expect anybody, including myself or students, to do this blind. I'd like you to use the presentation while answering the questions, just to solidify some of the learning that you've done. So you can go through these various slides and you should find answers to those quizzes. All right, perfect. So in addition to having the PowerPoint presentation, I've set up an Edmodo group, which was the Tech Talk technology that I presented on earlier this week. So I linked it to this presentation, and Edmodo contains this PowerPoint presentation as well as contains this PowerPoint presentation as well as some extra application exercises. I've put a set of flashcards up, so if you go to the apps thing on the left side of the menu, which I will have instructions, which you will already have seen, which will be instructions up in the Blackboard discussion group, you'll see some interesting flashcards that just basically summarize the Canadian C-spine rules. So, to summarize, I hope you find this interesting. I hope this video kind of I helped you guide you through the process of going through my presentation. Hopefully you find it interesting. Hopefully it's not too medically intensive. I'd like to think, and I chose this because I think it's sort of something that you see a lot on TV, people being put on spine boards and people having cervical collars on, so I hope that it's an interesting and a little bit of a salient topic. If you have any questions, just message me on Blackboard or comment on the post. Anyways, enjoy. Thanks very much.